Hello, Joe.
Hi, Vincent. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and you?
No, good, good, good. Sitting here in isolation for the last 5 days.
Uh, Welcome to the club. We've been 17 already.
Yeah, yeah. And they're going to extend it possibly.
They extended till 12th, April 12th,
Hmm?
but I think we're gonna be the entire month of April. So
Yeah.
let's see. Anyway, you look younger every time I see you. You
No,
really.
your eyes get bad.
So how is everything going?
That's good. Yeah, lots of changes, lots of changes in the world and the way we do things.
Yeah,
Things has changed a lot.
a lot. Yeah, yeah. I don't think we're gonna we're going to be the same once this period is over. But first of all, I would like to thank you for taking the time of joining these coffee talks. So basically, the idea behind that was just to give the opportunity for those coaches that are attending our camps, courses, etc., to be close to coaches like you. So top
Mm.
coaches, because okay, I can pick up my phone and just give you a call, but some of them they barely have this chance. And
Yeah.
there was a demand on that, and so that's why I started just launching these sessions. So thank you very much for your time.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Well, for those people is already joining the conversation, so this is we're gonna just be a bunch of friends talking
Yeah.
together. So in a normal world, because now no, we're not living in a normal situation. We'll be in a coffee shop, just catching up and having some fun. So, but for those that don't know, Joe is Henri Schoeman coach, and yeah, I was extremely honored and surprised, I must say, when you come to our level 2 coaching course in Korea.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say, I cannot say who learned more from who, if you from me or I from you. So thank you very much once again. And as I said, this is going to be just an informal chat between the two of us.
Okay.
Some people might just throw some questions there, so I might go and just read some of them. But first, I wanted to ask you how you guys are coping with the situation with the lockdown, because I heard that in South Africa now just became as serious as in Spain. So how you handling
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
situation?
It is difficult because what you need to do is every person, it's got its own program now. I've got to do a program for Henry in his house, Amy in her house, and Sinead. So everybody is like a unique program, and we've got to be very creative. With Henry, we were going to go ahead with the planning for the Olympics and train and make our own races. But in a good way, it's postponed. So now we just go back to base, some sort of base training and do all the things he wanted to do. But, there's a number of ways that to do it. Some of the people has got lucky and they've got a home pool. So there we swim with wetsuit and elastics. You tie your elastic and you can do some sets. But it's very hard, so you cannot do so many work. So the swimming is getting less. You get what I do with the people is before the swim, we'll do elastics, fly elastics for 15 minutes and not longer than an hour swim. So, and where there's no pool, well, you've got to work with elastics, simulate the swimming.
Yeah.
On the bike is easy. Everybody's Zwift. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's easy to cycle. On the run, it's an issue because we're not allowed to be outside of your property. So if you can run 50 meters or whatever, that's some sort of run, but we run up and down the stairs, skipping, running, holding elastics, with elastic on a pole, running in a pool with elastics if you've got a small pool, with your feet on the surface, run inside the pool. And that's how we trying to create 3 disciplines of training a day.
So you mentioned, because you are also coaching Amy, does she has a swimming pool or not?
Henry's got a nice pool. It's probably about 4 meters by 8 meters, so you can swim in that. Amy is, or there's some people with smaller pools. It's like 2 meters by 1 meter or 2 meters by 3 meters. So they actually manage to swim. What we do with the elastics, what works well, if you tie to a pole, you can only swim so fast. So you let somebody hold you, like you pace off a bike, and just make sure that you don't swim into the wall. So if you swim faster, they pull harder. And if you swim slower, they let go a little bit.
Yeah.
So they keep you in the middle of the pool.
All right. Yeah, because you also the distributor of fitness in South Africa. So I saw
yes.
a video of Henri just sharing some tips about how to train or how to do some swim workouts while being at home. So yeah, no, as you mentioned, it's a challenging time for all of us. As I was having Roberto Zajuela yesterday, and we were saying that well, I'm actually working more now than when I'm extremely busy traveling or with the courses, because we just need to be more creative and that's it. So
some people are lucky; they've got trainers also at home. I mean, Henry bought a trainer a little while ago, so he can run, but not faster than 20 k's an hour.
Yeah.
But what we need to do is also keep the training not too hard in case you get sick. You don't want your immune system to be down.
Yeah.
It's actually a very good document that you guys produced from ITU on coaches with the virus and what you should do and not do. There was a lot of value in that. But yeah, you just got to be careful. And I think now is the time to get all the rehab exercises and the stuff that you did when you had a calf injury or Achilles tendon injury, and do all those exercises every day. Spend just lots of time on strengthening exercises.
Yeah, there is nothing else to do unless you have, like me, 3-year-old daughter, which is that's crazy at the home. But if you're a pro athlete, then it's yes, what you need to invest the time too, because I don't know how the competition scene will look like once the entire world just go back to normal. But it seems like everything is going to be compressed. So whoever is not well prepared by doing all what you are saying and try to catch up with the training will most probably break. And you don't want to break, especially 1 year prior to the games, if you are already qualified. So
that's actually quite interesting. You see all the events. It's postponed till October, November, October. So we're going to have 500 events in October and November because everybody postponed to end of the year.
Yeah.
But what you want to do is you don't want to lose too much fitness. You don't want to do nothing for 6 weeks and then try and catch up, because it's going to take you another 2 months to get back.
Yes.
So you want to stay on top of it as much as you can and be motivated. That's the best you can do.
Yeah. You just mentioned the motivation. How you actually working on this aspect in the athletes' preparations? Do you have to do something, or the athletes needs to be self-motivated themselves?
They've got to motivate themselves, but what you do is you throw little tests in. And if you've got a pattern or a routine, like, for example, now with the little swimming, I will let in the morning, and you can do now many sessions a day, because you cannot do these long sessions, but you can do many short sessions and train the whole day, just about. So you'll do a 15-minute jog at the same place, run, go and swim, a little bit later on the bike. So on the bike, you can do tests, you can do time trials. On the run, if you've got, you can do accelerations, you can do, if you've got a little loop, even if it's 100 meters, if you can run 100 meter, jog 100 meters, fartlek, 100 meter jog, 100 meter fartlek. You can do a lot of work, but you've got to keep motivation with what you're doing it for. Keep it interesting, keep it creative, and build some little targets in all the time that they must meet.
Yeah.
But it's lots of work. It's lots of work. There's now not one single program.
No, you're right. It's as I said before, it's a challenging time even for us as a coaches. But you personally got relief once the games were postponed, or how did you actually handle this prior the announcement and after the announcement?
It was difficult prior the announcement because you're trying to, you don't know what's going to happen. They says, okay, they will make a call in a month's time. They will make a call, and you try and train hard, and you push yourself and everything. And with the official postponement, it was actually a relief because now you know what's happening. You can step back and you can actually plan better. And you're not chasing that target that can move the whole time, because every day or second day you hear something. Then Canada is not going to send their athletes. Then France is not going to. And in the back of your mind, you know it's going to be cancelled. They were talking about people that's their last Olympics. But I think it's more fair now. And we're now exactly where we were last year. We're just starting the new cycle. We can do all the base work and prepare properly for next year.
The people who was here at the high performance center, in the high altitude training center, had received a notice within 24 hours. They had to leave the place. So it was chaotic. It was chaotic because they didn't have anywhere to go. The roads were not closed, but they were not allowed to. Can you hear me now, Joe?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, no, it was so thank God everything is back to not to normal, but it's postponed, and you guys have 1 year to proper prepare.
Yeah.
So and that leads me to my, well, no, it's not a question, but how you gonna, actually it is a question. So how you gonna schedule next year program? Because how have you planned it if all the situation is over, let's say in 1 month's time or 1.5 months time?
Exactly the same as we do this year. We follow very patterns. I follow patterns and whatever. So you know, a lot of the training this year worked out just about as it was to the previous Olympics. So for me, the most important time is 12 weeks before the games. And before that, we've got 2 cycles. I work on 12-week cycles with the rest after the 12th week. Yeah, exactly what we're doing now. The same is going to happen next year for the Olympics.
Okay. So
we don't go in a long isolated time. We like to race. We like to be racing fit. It doesn't help to January, February, March, April, May to just do. You can only really, in my opinion, really peak within a 12-week period. So we're trying to do things before that, very normal. There are certain things we like to get done, but yeah, that's the way we will approach it.
So I assume after the bronze in Rio, this time you try to go higher, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So I saw last year you were in Thailand. I do believe you have already started testing some kind of strategies for adapting to the heat. How many camps are you planning to host this year over there? If you're going again, I don't know if.
I don't know. We will probably go to Phuket again. What we did last year is with the heat management. We learned quite a few things. One of the things is don't do heat acclimatization while you taper, which is one of the things we actually train quite hard while we're doing heat acclimatization. The other thing is don't mess around with ice and all these sort of things while you're busy with sets. The body gets confused. So it's good to have an ice pack while you're warming up and whatever. Take it off and don't. We had a set where we were doing a 3,000, a 2,000, and 1,000. So we had ice, did the first part of the set and put ice on again. And the body his body just went to a standstill. And we took the ice off and trained normally without the ice, and things worked out better. One of the things we will do is also not spend so much time in the heat, probably about 8 days. So we'll fly Phuket, from Phuket to Tokyo, into the acclimatization period and your pre-race week into the race. So we've actually had the days and everything exactly worked out, when to fly, when to be there, and what to do. Even the sets, we know exactly what we would have trained.
Oh, yeah, no, interesting. So pretty much you're taking the planning you did, or the plan you did this year, and you're just gonna move it 1 year
Yeah,
ahead.
just take it and
Pretty
move it
much
to next year. Yeah. And what
next
we're
year.
going to do,
Okay.
yeah, something interesting that I've also is in that document that you guys produced on heat management. You can actually maintain your heat acclimatization by doing once a week off run, like a 40-minute sauna and that sort of thing. So we would have had once a week for the winter, once or twice a week, do a normal long run, increase the internal temperature of the body, and go and sit in a sauna for 40 minutes. And because it's all about sweating. And that's one of the techniques we would have used to stay hot or hot heat acclimatized during the winter months.
I don't know, I was expecting that the games were a little, moved a little bit early in so like April, May or something, but it seems it's not that easy to change. Well, I assume moving it 1 year has been crazy. So yeah, you were gonna say, Joe, sorry.
Sorry, I cannot hear. You're breaking up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
You were saying. Okay.
No, I'm saying I would be quite disappointed if the games is not in the heat, because that's part of the how do you prepare to prepare in the heat. And anybody that is going to push himself over the limit or didn't do his homework on what sort of pace, he didn't do it properly. We've seen your pace is probably about 5 seconds per K slower in the heat. And you've got to take those sort of things in account.
Okay. Yeah. Because you did the test event in Tokyo, didn't you? I mean, Henry raced there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So and this is something I would like you, because I would like you to explain to those who join us today, because I remember in Korea and during the level 2 coach course, you explained very detail how you tactically prepare for the competition. So what kind of aspects do you look at before going to a new circuit, or those that are already on the World Triathlon Series? What kind of technical and tactical aspects you guys analyze prior to going there?
We like to, in the month before a race, some of the races has got hills, some of them has got flat with many corners. You go into Super League, which is different. So I'd like to adjust some of the components of the training to suit the race. I believe you've got to train very specific to triathlon and to what you race. If you take a triathlon, for example, the swim, if you don't swim a 17-minute 1500, you're not going to be in the front pack, and you actually want to like to swim at about 80%, so that you get out of the water. You can actually have another 10% or so capacity to sprint, to transition, and to get on the bike and go to 100%, because that's where you open the gap. If you're already at 100%, well, you're not going to close the gap because you're already at 100%. And there are certain things that happen during the bike that you've got to train in training. Also, when you do a sprint race or a Olympic distance race, if you haven't run a 30-minute 10K in training or train 30-minute 10K pace, you're not going to do it magically in a race. It's not going to happen. So all the training is very specific, mostly to the races that we're going into, and it's very specific to Olympic distance or sprint distance triathlon training. We're not doing mega miles and mega distances or whatever. It's very specific to what you want to do.
That's I definitely agree with your approach, because I think the triathlon scene has changed a lot since or the last 8 years or so, and being specific and just polishing these small details is what makes difference at the end of the day. So
yeah,
how it is. There was someone was asking, how do you see the or what kind of changes Super League has brought into the way that athletes are training and also the preparation, because there are more races and it's quite interesting for the guys because they are getting well paid. So how do you see this kind of new new events joining?
Super League, our training didn't change too much with Super League, because in my schedules we train 800 pace, 1500 pace, 3000 pace, you know, a lot of paces and whatever, and even a lot of speed work on a bike, heels and interval work and whatever. So even from a swimming point of view, there's always speed work in swimming. And if you take Super League, it is actually a long race. You do a sprint race in essence. It's a swimmer, bike and run, a swimmer, bike, run, swim, bike, run, bring you to a sprint race. But what we do is we do increase the intensity. If you get closer to after the season into the Super League, you'll find that I focus a bit more on 800, 1500, 3000 pace running, shorter, intense sprints on the bike, and intense swims and faster swims on the swim side. So everything just gets faster. You know, you'd like to do paces. You know, in a Super League, the guys runs that mile at 240, 241, 242 pace. You would like to do that in training a lot, so that you get there and it's easy.
Yeah. So and
what we'll do is we actually simulate some of the Super League where we will do a brick. Where you do 3 times the yield, 3 times run, 3 times the yield, 3 times run, and all those sort of things to give you that sort of feeling what you're going to experience in the Super League. You've got to feel it in training to race well in a race.
You're right. This is something I always, or this is a message I always try to deliver in our courses, that triathlon is not longer swim by run. So it's not isolated. I mean, you don't do a swim workout without taking in consideration what's going to come on the bike and what's going to come after on the run. So if we had the environment, we will do more breaks within the same session. So if we don't do more, it's because logistically it's a little bit complicated. But if we had the perfect venue, perhaps a velodrome with a running track and a swimming pool in the middle, that would be actually amazing.
Yeah, but bricks to me is a brick session to me is to teach a body running 241 off the bike. For example, you wanna run hard off the bike, so you can actually have a session where you swim very hard, and you do sessions on the track, on the bike run, you know, that sort of thing. But a brick session to me is not practicing transition. I see a lot of guys will actually go and try and do the quick helmet, do this and do all sorts of things that you can actually practice by itself. If you want to put your helmet on quick, go and practice how to put a helmet on for 10 minutes in your room. A brick to me is you've got to be able to run very hard off the bike, a 3000 pace off the bike. And that's what you practice and practice and practice. So that's it. That's how I like to do a brick set. And you're right. A triathlon it's an event. You've got to train like a 1500 meter swimmer. You've got to train like a curriculum cyclist, and like a 10,000 meter runner. But all must be within on tired legs. So you always have got to do your running sort of on tired legs. So yeah, I like to do most of the disciplines every day.
That's quite interesting. Thank you for sharing that. There was one of the coaches who is following the conversation is asking what kind of methodology you use for training load quantification, if you do some.
For what?
For quantifying the training load.
Yeah. I work a lot on perceived effort. We've got a lot of things that we want to do, and you know, training also evolve with your athletes. The thing is, if you've got an athlete and he can swim 75 seconds on the hundreds, 3100s on 140, that's his pace at that stage on a swim. Or let's say he runs thousands with a 15-second rest in 3:10. That's his baseline. So you build on what his capacity. All the training is very personalized per athlete. So you always train on what his capacity is. But there's always some rest, planned rest. I work a lot on planned rest. So you find during your 10-day cycle or your 8-day cycle, there will be a day where the run is off, or the swim is off, or the bike is 2 days off, or whatever, a day off, a day off. So you plan your rests, and you actually monitor your athletes. You know when it's time to hold back. And what we've got with what I'm trying to get is also you get to your volume has been saturated. So you know what you need to do in a 90-minute swim, or a track set on the run, or a 90-minute bike. So we don't do more hours or more kilometers. We work on getting faster. So you get to a point where you can actually do the volume, and then you just get faster and faster and faster. And I also don't like to go, I believe in a lot of layers. So when you go winter program, you just get one layer slower. So you go to half marathon pace. And when you go into season, or even the start of all my 12-week cycles, I'll do a bit of base. So I do probably base 4 times a year at the beginning of every 12-week cycle. And just as the way I plan or play with the methods and the cycles and the periods.
I remember this crazy Excel you have. You show us in Korea with a lot of details, because one of the most common questions I got when we deliver the courses is some coaches are looking for recipes, and I always say we don't have recipes, we have ingredients, and the ingredients are the same for everybody. The way we mix them is what actually give us identity and actually show us whether the way we have mixed them or not has been successfully or not. So science is kind of helping us to back up our decisions, but then it's the part of coaching, which I like to call it art, what makes us different. But the ingredients, everybody has the same, which is what you write on a program.
You write with recipes. There's a few things like quite interesting. If you've got a pattern for pre-race week that works, stick with that. I mean, we're actually doing a very similar pattern now for the last 8 years. It hasn't changed. I can go back to my programs 8 years ago, and what we do in race week is just about the same. We like to plan your race day to everything, from when you wake up to when you race. You've got to have your detailed planning, your type of training sessions. You've got to find a method that works. There are certain things that works. There are certain things that works for athletes and not for other athletes. So it's art. You all the time. And you put a program together, and what actually happened after the program is put together is something different, because the one day you get sick, or suddenly there's a rainstorm for 2 days and you're going to do track work and you've got to change here and you've got to change there. But some of the things that happen that you do out of the norm sometimes become norm because it works so well. I mean, you might have a race coming up, and 2 weeks before the race, you have to change everything you do. And you do like a new type program because there's no track or there's no this. So you throw a heel brick in, and suddenly your athlete has got a brilliant race. Well, then next time you start building this brick heel in 10 days before a race because it works. We do a lot of those things. If something works, use it. If it doesn't work, just find something else.
Yes, yeah, no, I do agree with you with the aspect. I always say this is not exact science, but will give you that. Those are, I mean, coaching or training is not math, where 2 times 2 is 4. So it depends always, no?
Yeah.
If it works, why not? So,
there's one rule. There's one rule, Vincent. You will not race faster than you train.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That is one rule. Whatever you do is you've got to simulate, you've got to try and do in training exactly the way you're going to feel in a race with a kilometer to go. If you can get that feeling with a kilometer to go and you're in your last 1,000 feeling exactly the same at the same pace, then you're training right.
I never put myself into that situation. So, I mean, it's been a long time. So I don't know how that looks like, but no. It's actually right. A lot of people is expecting that things will just pop randomly on the race day, and you cannot deliver what you haven't practiced or trained for. That's for sure. So am I gonna have you here in Granada this year, or is you not planning to do any high altitude camp upcoming season?
No, not now. What we also find is if you do altitude, like for example going to Tokyo, altitude stays longer in your body. You need a bit longer time if you want to do altitude. We found it's harder to come out of altitude than to go into altitude. It is actually quite hard for the body to get used to sea level. Also, the other thing is if you want to race out of altitude, you've got to race within a day or two. First day or second day will be good for a race. If you go on a third day, it's not so good. Then you go into a black period. And probably about 10 days is the quickest that you can actually do a race after altitude. That's just what we found. And heat acclimatization is quickie. So you can do the heat after you've done the altitude, but not heat and then altitude. We wouldn't do that. But also with hypoxico and generators and all these sort of things, you can sleep high and train low. That also works very well if you've got a period of time and you can actually sleep high, train low, and cycle at altitude while you're at sea level.
Yeah. Do you have any altitude high altitude close home or not? You don't have that, David, right?
We have no altitude areas here. We've got to fly to Spain or Fontremau, Sierra Nevada is the two best places we like. But then we've got generators, altitude generators. That also works well.
Okay. Now, Sierra Nevada better than Fontremau, I can guarantee you.
Yeah, it is quite nice.
Yeah, especially if you have someone that takes you out for tapas afterwards. So,
yes.
Or me, next time you come here.
Yeah.
There is someone asking if you have any kind of advice to, because obviously Henri is your son. So how do you handle the relationship, coach, father, with son, athlete, not to cause any harm? So.
It is difficult. There's a time that I was coach, father, and training partner. In the beginning days, I could run with Henri and cycle with him. So you've got to try and leave coaching with coaching and your normal life with normal life. I think actually the risk that you've got is you become more a coach than a father than become. You know, I've seen a lot of parents. We're lucky that it worked out and we managed to do it quite well. But we fight a lot. But it. I think the biggest advice is if you don't know what you're doing, don't try and coach your child. Not that I say I know what I'm doing. There were times that I was very nervous. I was very scared. Do I do the right thing? It's my child's future. It's his life. It's what he wants to do in his life. If I messed up my child's career as an athlete. And I think it worked out well. But I also see...
I can say that. I can say you did a great job.
Yeah. But I also see a lot of parents that trying to coach their kids and not know what they're doing. And they need to step back and think, am I doing the best for my child? You know, and even as a parent that's not a coach, don't go to the cheapest or the closest coach. You've got to think in sport nowadays, like you're going to university. You want the best coach. You want the coach that is actually going to take my child and be able to make of a junior an elite athlete. Somebody that can actually take a junior that's 13 years old or 15 years old and be able to grow that child to become a junior, out of junior, step into the elite world and be able to compete Olympic distance race like within a year after he's been a junior, and not go and try and make a junior athlete, an elite athlete after junior. You've got to work on it now. And, you know, you've got to find the best coaches and think about it as a career. It's your child's life that's on the line here, and really you want the best, somebody that can see the future, somebody that can think where to get you to.
Definitely.
Do I make sense? Do I make sense?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, completely. If you don't, or he doesn't understand, because he's a friend of mine. So Sergio, si no te ha quedado claro, me lo dices. So actually, I read somewhere, I don't know where, because it's a lot of info coming. I cannot recall the source, that South Africa has a proposal to develop or to establish a professional council of coaching practices in order to avoid unqualified coaches to take over kids or athletes, etc., etc. Are you aware of that?
There's something new that started now, about 2 months ago, where they want to introduce a body, and you've got to write an exam to get some sort of certification. I've actually heard that there's a lot of people that takes programs off the internet and coach triathletes and make money out of it. So they copy and paste a program to an athlete, and you know, it is. It takes me a lot of time to put programs together because I don't work on a fixed recipe. You got to, you know, tomorrow's session is based on what you do today, and I want to make the sessions count. So I've got to be prepared for a session to do the best. If I want a session of thousands and I want best times out of the 1,000, I cannot go and kill him the day before and expect tomorrow to have the best out of that. So there's a lot of planning, and you cannot. It makes sense to have a body that make you qualified as a coach.
Yeah, actually, we have a huge problem here in Spain with what we call them influencers, because actually those like to call them like the opposite, because they don't influence in a positive way. They influence in a negative way, because as per our law, there is not like any kind of well, actually we don't have any kind of law that protect the users to be coached by and qualified. You know, everybody can unqualified coaches, so everyone can open a YouTube channel and just give advices about nutrition, about coaching. So it's actually it's not a nice thing. So I'll be really glad to hear if this council succeed then in South Africa, because we might just copy the model.
I think it's quite cool with ITU, with their validation on the coaching that we've done, and the council, or the TSA with their coaching strategy within SASCOC in South Africa on all sports. I think it will work. It will sort out all these noise that you get from the outside. And it's so sad to see a youngster with lots of talent, a junior doing like 120, 140 Ks on the bike. I mean, their race is 20 Ks. That's the sort of things. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I often seen coaches who are still competing in Ironman, and they like to do their sessions while they're training with the juniors. So they end up with juniors doing 100+ Ks on the bike, and like, well, you know, and they lack on the skills. So when you go to competitions, they complain because, it's full of sharp turns. What do you expect? This is not an Ironman. So what do you expect? Coming back with what you were saying, so you have to be specific what you want, what you're gonna face on race day. So it's not.
It's so sad. I mean, you find that a lot of Ironman or distance parents or distance coaches coach juniors and people that wants to be on the elite circuit. I cannot see. I've been at the camp here in South Africa, and there was a youngster. He's 12 years old. He goes and cycle 160 Ks. 12-year-old with his dad on a bike. How is he going to be? I don't know. It just does not make sense to me.
doesn't make any sense to me neither. So,
Mm.
yeah, Sonia is asking us what is the. I don't know if you can read the questions. Can you?
Yes, there was some that goes
Okay,
not.
I'm just gonna read the one that Sonia posted. From your point of view, what are the essential characteristics that a good coach have to have? So, what's the main feature that you will say that makes a good coach?
Lots of patience. You've got to
So,
be.
you
You've
already
got to.
some like having principles, and to me, is do not harm. This is one of my ones.
Yeah, and the thing is, you've got, especially if you've got junior athletes. You know, a lot of people expect an athlete or a junior to be within a year, like elite athletes that's 10 years or 15 years on a circuit. Excuse me. So the thing is, you've got to grow a junior, you've got to grow an athlete, and there's a lot of patience. It takes a long time. So they might, in their way, give you 100%, which is not the same 100% as an elite athlete. In 5 years' time, they will give the same 100%. You've got to be patient. You've got to nurture them in the sessions. You've got to understand what they can do and cannot do. There's injuries that you've got to manage. You've got to manage your athlete's parents. You've got to manage all sorts of things that happen. And you just got to go with everything has got to be the best for the athlete. And that's the way you do it.
No, no, no. It's a good approach, actually. So I'm not gonna take more. Just let's go for a couple of more questions, and then we'll be done. Coach Ahmed is from Egypt is asking if well, usually Henri was always out of the water first or second, and then in Rio he was not. I don't know his position out of the water in Rio, but he's asking if not being out of the water first or second was part of the tactics you had in mind and paid off to get the results you got over there.
Henri has many times maybe not. Yeah, he can have a bad swim, so that's also something interesting when you plan your triathlon. Don't think further as a start. So to calm your nerves and whatever you do, only think about the start, because the moment the start happened, you can have 10 million views in your mind of how the race is going to happen. Not one of them will be right. So you've got to be able to change and adapt as you go. Henri had a bad swim. I mean, there's times that he's getting knocked out under. In London, the one time he was 40 seconds under the water, the whole field swam over him. You've got to be able to, and that's part of the brick that we do, is that if you get to your bike, you've got to be able to go then max for about a K or 2Ks to absolute 100%, 120% max. So those are the sort of sessions you're going to do while you're training to prepare you for not having, I mean, even if you've got a good swim, you still motor like max to get away, or you've got to chase. In Rio, what happened is he couldn't get his helmet on. The swim was not too bad, but he didn't get his helmet on, and he was in a pack with 12 other guys. He's the only one that made the break, that caught up with the break. And I still think it's to do with some of those sets that we do that help you to be fast off the bike, on the bike, off the swim. You've got to be strong on the bike. You've got to be able to, there's certain speed also that you've got to train for a 40K bike or a 20K bike, not a 200K bike. And that's a philosophy we do is, I do energy systems on the bike, and we do a lot of intensity. I like heels. I do a lot of heel work.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned, and this is an example I always use when I deliver the courses. Just correct me if I'm wrong. Yokohama had over 200 turns, right? 200,
it's about 184 turns, yeah.
Something like that, which means that's the same amount of sprints, kind of.
Yeah, you find.
So
you find that, and that's the only time when we will actually look at the watt meter. You go to a race and you look at the profile, it goes to 1,000 watts down, 1,000 watts down. And it's like one big graph that just run up and down. And you've got to do those sort of things in training. It is heart rate to max, drop down the heart rate to max, drop down the heart rate, and you've got to train that.
Mm. Yeah. So, are you there? Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
I thought the connection just was gone. Yeah. Is Henri fully recovered from the injury? Or
the
was he
virus
injured?
or something? Yeah, no, he was sick in World Champs. He picked up some sort of a viral infection in Switzerland, or yeah, he was man down for a month. It affected his liver, and we had to do daily tests to see how his liver was recovering after the. We still don't know what virus it was. We've got an idea, but he's fully recovered.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for spending this time with me. If you want, we give like one more question for whoever wants to type in there. And
yeah, no,
you don't have anything to do, no? You have to be at home like me.
I've got 21 days to answer questions.
We have a joke in Spain that says our garage never been so organized as they are now. You know?
Yeah.
Because since you're at home, your wife is telling you, okay, now we're gonna paint this wall. Now you need to get this set. Now you need to organize that. So within 18 days, and there is nothing to clean. There is nothing to arrange. All is sorted. So
it's like in the days when you had to go and write the exam. You know, when you study for exams, the day before the exam, you clean the car and you do the garden and you do this and you do that just not to study.
yeah, but then you had to study the end. So let's go for the last one. So any recommendation for a young coach?
Any recommendation for?
Yeah, for a young coach.
A young coach. I think the recommendation is a lot of athletes or a lot of coaches will go from the philosophy to say, my athlete is not the best swimmer, so I'm going to focus on the bike. To me, the triathlons is about the swim and the run. You can make an athlete a great swimmer, but it is not about 25-meter swims and whatever. You've got to swim like a 1,500-meter pool swimmer, and you've got only once a day to do a swim. You've got to do long sets. You've got to do 400s. You've got to do 800s. You've got to do many hundreds. You've got to do the tempo in the water so that you get stronger and stronger off the swim. And it doesn't help to be too fancy in your swim sets. You've got to train. The swim in a triathlon is to set you up for the bike. It's not like a 1,500-meter in the pool where it's like the first 500 meters in a 1,500-meter pool race. On the bike, train bike specific. You only do a 40K bike and a 20K bike. Don't try and do these mega distances. Train bike specific. You've got lots of turns. You've got sharp heels. You've got those sort of things. Train for that. And then on the run is on tired legs, and you've got to train like a 10,000-meter athlete, a 5,000-meter athlete, and that's because that's what you run, and you run it fast. And you've got to distribute your sets so that you'll be able to do all those sort of things every day. So I like to have a swim layer and a bike and a run layer. So I will never do hard bike and hard run except in a brick. So you do a hard run, easy run next day, a hard bike on an easy run. You know, those sort of things. And you just distribute your sessions. I like to rest every 10th day, we'd like to have a total rest. And I like to have a rest week every 3 months. So that's, I believe you've got to be recovered and ready for your hard sets, but it's not a weak recovery. The patterns, you train pretty hard every day and you evolve into an athlete that can do a lot of hard work. It's not easy, but it gets harder as you do it more and you evolve into all these sessions. Hello? Vincent?
I remember having a chat with Javier, coach him, Carlos, Javier's coach, and I asked him how Javi can cope, and he was saying, well, actually, sometimes you don't feel like doing what you have to do, but it's your job. So it's not like, you know, they are as motivated as some of the age groupers that would like to become elite level, you know, at least for a year, that they want to go for like training camps, and they see the fun, you know, going up in the mountains for 21 days and run a training camp up there. But the problem is, it's not 21 days. It's 1 year doing exactly the same thing, multiplied by your entire career. So that sometimes there is not much fun in there. So you just have to get it done.
Yeah, it's like Henri will say to some of the juniors that's trying to get motivated and whatever, and they're tired and they're sore. And he says, there are days you just got to grind through it. You just got to grind through the days. But talking about Javier, one of the things that Henri learned from Javier, he spent a year with Javier in 2014 with some training and whatever. And it's the importance of the small things, to do your core, to do your exercises, to do, so we will do core every second day. We will not skip on core. We will not skip on the exercises. Those are the small things that keeps you from injuries. It keeps you it keeps you strong, and it helps with your posture and all the things you want to do. Do the small things. Don't let go on the small things. The one key thing that I do also, I never chase an athlete with his warm-up. If it takes him an hour to warm up, it takes him an hour to warm up. Never chase your athletes to do quick warm-ups and whatever. They've got to be warm-up like they do it and like they want to do it. And, you know, your warm-up for a hard track set is the same warm-up as you do for a race. Your hard track set is exactly the same as a race scenario. So spend your time on the warm-ups. Do your core, do your exercises. Don't skip those. And sleep enough.
Yeah, this is something we struggle out. And I don't know if because of the party, because of the weather, or because of the coach itself, but it's difficult to convince at least that they need to sleep as a part of the training. It have to be scheduled. And I remember you were saying in Korea that even the naps are scheduled, kind of. So it needs to be the proper rest have to be scheduled. So that's an important factor for performance, at least to me. Anyway, so Joe, many thanks for your time and for your valuable knowledge. That's personal. So I think it says a lot from you that after achieve what you guys have achieved in the sport, you still came to the course and wanted to learn and ask questions and still willing to take more. So that says a lot from a coach, with your curriculum. I do believe our career is not it never ends, so it's a lifelong it's a life learning experience.
It's a life learning. You learn every day. I mean, you learn every day from a new athlete, from the way they do things. You and your athletes got to learn from each other. I like to ask the athletes, does this really work? Is this good? Your athlete is important as you, and it's a team. But you learn all the time. I mean, there's so many things you can learn, and you've got to be able to learn.
Yeah. If not, you're not what we say. You're not a coach 2.0 version. You're still like all the school, which is not as good as it could be.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you very much. Hope to see you soon somewhere. Let's see if this situation just gets better as soon as possible, and we can catch up next time, not through a phone, but with a real cup of coffee on our hands.
Okay. No, thanks a lot, Vincent. Cheers. Hey. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.